Hey, it's me, Hannah. Let's go to the inaugural Richmond Renaissance Fair. Earlier this month, Richmond had its first official Renaissance Fair, brought to us by Virago Alley. I had the honor and pleasure of getting a press pass, and this one weekend event really packed a lot into it. I did my best to capture everything that I could, and I started by getting there very early on Saturday morning, dressed in my chainmail jester's best. And I got to kind of wander around while I looked for the other volunteer videographers and photographers. The first thing we did was watch in awe as a line started to form a little after 9 a.m. and the gates didn't even open until 10. Now, I knew that this event had sold out for both days, meaning 15,000 tickets were sold, which itself is a huge indication that the Richmond community wants this event. But the enthusiasm that this long line of fairgoers had to come enjoy the festival for as long as possible really reinforces that message. And not only did seemingly everyone in Richmond show up early, they showed up in costume. And on such an unexpectedly hot day. I think it got up to 90 degrees. And while the RVARF team thankfully got the biggest tent, so there was shade, and provided water refill stations and a misting tent, this section of Dorey Park did not offer very much in the form of natural shade, so it got really unexpectedly hot. I definitely regretted putting on a jangly, overstimulating, heat-conducting chainmail coif on my head for the entire day. I started my actual Ren Faire experience by exploring and perusing the guild tents that were all set up around the central stage, the Well. The Richmond Renaissance Faire has the coolest narrative of all of the Renaissance fairs that I've been to. Most fairs will center around a historical or historically inspired king or queen or royal court of some sort. Alternatively, the RVARF is inspired by the multicultural exchanges of the Silk Road. This sort of shifts the spotlight to the tradesmen and artisans and just everyday people whose work truly shaped the Renaissance era. The official narrative goes like this. The Richmond Ren Faire tells the story of the regathering, where artisans, makers, and dreamers rise up to reclaim the spirit of creation in order to reconnect with the practices that remind us of our humanity. At the heart of this gathering flows a river, not just of water, but of memory. Its currents carry the stories of generations past, binding communities through skills and shared purpose. But for too long, creation was claimed by rulers, corporations, and machines. This forgetting was called the withering. Through it all, the river remembered, and it called to the dreamers. From every corner, they gathered to forge the guilds, communities of knowledge, arts, and stories that uphold the balance between humans and the earth. United, they rise, reclaiming what was lost, proving that the power to create, connect, and transform still flows through us all. In a land without kings or courts, it is the guilds and the people behind them who shape the world. Their callings are ancient yet evolving, forged from hands, hearts, and histories. Together, they form a raw and interwoven society where craft, story, ritual, and rebellion converge. No guild exists in isolation. They trade, clash, and collaborate, from iron shapers to fire dancers, weavers to keepers of the hunt, spinning a constantly evolving world where every visitor can belong. Materials are exchanged, performances shared, and stories carried across lines. Their connections keep the current alive, turning every encounter into part of a larger, ever-growing tale. The regathering is a joyful celebration of the people, shaping a new kind of renaissance born from an age of disconnection and rediscovery. And that narrative was just so beautifully portrayed throughout the fair. I wish I had been able to capture more of it, but especially on Saturday, I was so just emotionally overwhelmed by the amount of people that were there and overstimulated by my chainmail and hot and just overall excited that this beautiful event was taking place. That I feel like I dissociated and I honestly didn't even know what footage I had actually captured. Thankfully, it seems like I pulled myself together once we sat down and found some shade under the Illuminators and Scribes Guild, where we were able to cool off a little bit and do a little bit of painting. Then it was time to get something to eat. There were a lot of options for food throughout the fair, but at the more central food vendors, we definitely found ourselves in much longer lines. But what can I say? I wanted bangers and mash, so we were willing to wait for a little bit. Plus, it didn't even feel like waiting. We were surrounded by friends and fellow fairgoers to chat with, and this probably goes for any Ren Fair. It is prime people watching, so we were entertained. For what it's worth, and for future reference, there were more food vendors behind the tree line where the canal stage was, and these vendors had much shorter lines, but we didn't actually make our way over there until after lunch, unfortunately. We bopped around for a little bit longer, but after struggling to relocate Darling Husband due to the really crummy cell service, we decided to head out for the day. And I'm actually glad that we did, because a few poor souls did succumb to heat exhaustion, and I fear I was on my way to that as well. So leaving early, I think, was a good call. Don't forget to hydrate, folks. In perfect representation of Virginia's springtime moodiness, Sunday was cold. It got down to 50 degrees midday. The weather forecast, though, led to fewer people being there right at opening, so I had plenty of time to peruse the vendors, who were all either RVA locals or at least local to Virginia. Now, this was a very cool way to make sure that local businesses were represented, but in my chats with some of the Virago Alley crew, we agreed that there was probably some room for a little bit more diversity and variety in the types of wares that were available. And I know that I wouldn't mind seeing some other vendors that I would recognize from the greater DMV fair circuit. That said, there were some great artisans present, and my wallet was in danger for hours as I walked around and saw each of the booths. I obviously started the day off at Lady Eppie's shop and visiting the Trusty Crow. I also got to say hello to Raina over at Wild Fables. It was so nice to meet you, and thank you for watching, and also your jewelry is really cool. Right around midday, the rain hit full on. We spent the first part of the downpour dancing along to Bard City, which is my absolute favorite of all of the musical performances. We were able to find some respite under the canal stage tent and the nearby vendors, but eventually we did have to suck it up and venture out into the drink. And I'm glad that we did, because we stumbled upon the, dare I say, most entertaining performance of the day, the Zorro Nova drag comedy sketches, which were performed at the River Stage. This show was absolutely hysterical and delightful, and the storytelling was immaculate. We also made it into the alley to view some combat demonstrations and do a little window shopping for swords. Join or Die Knives was also there, working on forging next year's official Richmond Renaissance Faire sword for the raffle that they do every year. Or I guess are going to start doing every year. They did it this year, and I know that the raffle winner was announced, but unfortunately I missed that. The cold weather actually made it the perfect day to debut my very RVA opossum corset. Check out my last video if you want to see how I made the corset and beaded this screaming little guy on the front. The heavier velvet that I used for this bodice, as well as my bustle slash butt cape and the escoffion that I was wearing, it kept me pretty warm. And I had a gray hood from a Maryland Ren Faire vendor, Maresca, to help keep me dry in the rain. I spent most of my day with my trash mammal companion, Erin, who was wearing a raccoon-inspired look. We were sure to stop and take photos by the trash can once the sun came out, because obviously we had to. And I did manage to see part of the parade each day. There was a big bike presence from the Dragon Bones Guild, which is primarily represented by Rag and Bones, a volunteer-run bicycle cooperative here in Richmond. There was a bike toss to show off feats of strength, and plenty of these double-decker bikes, which I believe are meant to represent historical lamplighter bicycles. And these talented cyclists actually use these double-decker bikes to perform a bicycle joust, which I can't believe I missed. Please shame me in the comments. It's like I've never vlogged a Ren Fair before. I also missed most of the equestrian demos at the arena, but I did get to meet a horse named Cochise on my way out of the fair. A very noble steed indeed. And I have to extend an enormous thank you to the literal 1,000 volunteers who helped bring this Renaissance Fair to life. And of course, the biggest shout out to Ash and Amanda. I'm so glad I got to run into the co-founders of the Renaissance Fair later in the day on Sunday and essentially just gush to them about how grateful us Ren Fair goers were for all of their hard work and their sleepless nights leading up to this event. I know that the Virago Alley team is taking some much needed rest right now, but I know they're already scheming for next year, and I cannot wait to see what they do with this event and watch it grow into a Richmond staple. I know it's impossible to catch everything when vlogging such a big event like this, but it is my goal to see even more next time. So if you were at the fair, let me know what I missed and what your favorite part was. And if you had as much fun as I did, it would mean the world to me if you would like and subscribe. And if you do, I will see you in 2 weeks for my next video. Take care.